Hello, everyone, and welcome. I hope you're all well. My name is Avro Hepner, and I'm from the British Deaf Association Scotland. And this is the first of our Blethers for 2023, so I want to wish you a very happy new year. Now, this is the month of January, and in January, we it's been starting for a few years now. We'll be getting information out about veganism. And we now call January Veganuary. So it basically means January is the month that we celebrate and encourage people to discuss and promote and talk about veganism and what it is about. Now, what it appears that there's veganism's taken off, and the deaf community have asked us to talk about this. So I'm delighted we have three people here tonight who are going to talk about their own experiences. And maybe there's some of you watching tonight and thinking, oh, it's a bit late for me to do it. It doesn't matter that we've passed the 1st of January. It doesn't matter. It's never too late. So I hope you really enjoy tonight's programme and you enjoy the conversation that I'll have with our three guests. But maybe you have a question. As always, they are always welcome. So you can put your questions um, in the chat box in Facebook, and I'll try my best to share the questions with our guests. So, first of all, I'd like to invite our first guest, Shauna.
Hello, everyone. Hi.
Shauna, could you introduce and tell us a wee bit about yourself?
Hi, yeah, I'm Shauna Flannigan. Shauna. I'm from Yorkshire.
Oh, lovely. Were you not in a Blethers 2 years ago?
Yeah, 2 years ago, that's right.
And now you're back to give us some lovely updated information. We'll
Yeah.
hold on just now. I'd love to introduce our second guest, and this is Nadia.
Hi.
Nadia, could you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Nadia Nadarajah, and I'm from the south. I'm down in Brighton.
Oh, lovely. And I'm delighted you can join us. And you've got a gorgeous kitchen there.
Thank you. Yes, here I
Oh, I
am.
really like that. Okay, we'll talk more later. And our third and final guest is Amy. Amy, can you join us? Hello,
Hi.
Amy.
Hi, I'm Amy Dawson, Amy,
And
and
where are
I'm
you
from
from?
Scotland. I'm Glasgow based.
Oh, wonderful. So thank you for the three of you for coming here tonight. It's fantastic. And I've noticed that the three of you got a lot of passion for veganism. And I know that recently there's been some changes. So briefly, just to really start the conversation off, what made you become a vegan? So could we ask Shauna? Could you reply first?
Sure, yeah. I started being vegan about 3 years ago. I'd been thinking about it for a wee while, and I was concerned about the environment, and I realized that eating meat and dairy is damaging for the environment. And I wanted to show my support for the
Okay.
environment. So that's why I gradually became vegan. And then the more I researched into it, the more I looked at animal health and my own health, and found that my health was improving and the animals suffered a lot to give us meat and dairy. It really opened my mind to animals. I love animals. I used to be obviously very concerned about the environment, and I still am, but I'm now also concerned about my health and the health of and well-being of animals. So there are three reasons.
Nadia. Well, I'm just new to this. I'd been not 100% vegan for many years, but as Shauna mentioned, the environment and the crisis, and also links with wars, and I'll tell you about that later on. All of this affected me, and I decided to change. So, what you're saying is actually your journey was you were nearly there, but then things changed.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
first thing was that I read about cows in a newspaper. They've got 4 stomachs, and when they express wind, when they fart, they give off methane, and this methane is really damaging to our planet. So if you're eating meat or anything that's produced by a cow, these cows are fed so intensively that it affects their health, and they fart methane out into the environment, and I just thought, "Oh, no, I'm not having it."
So that's why. Well, I really got involved because I saw a video about animals and it really affected me. I was so emotional. And then I was changing sort of different foods, changing milk to soya, some dairy, things like that. And then I decided that it was about dairy foods.
Dairy is scary. Yes, I've heard that
Yeah.
too.
And honestly, it was terrible, and I've been vegan for the last 2 years. So
3
sh
years for me.
okay, so Shauna's 3 years, and what about you, Nadia? I mean,
Well,
I
I
was
was vegan all my life actually, but, maybe about 80% or something. Now I'm 100%. I'm on it.
well, it's so interesting. Each one of yous have picked up on it about the animals and the environment, but I really want to clarify with you guys. I've seen a lot more plant-based foods on our shelves. Are they actually vegan foods? Could someone explain it to me? What does plant-based actually mean? What is it? Who would like to go first? Oh,
Well, really plant-based is, it's about a different lifestyle. So it's about eating foods that are made from plants, um, and it's about how we buy things, how we consume things, where they come from, even clothes and things like that. So it's about clothing, it's about food, it's about your lifestyle.
so everything really?
About not using leather, it's about not using, all of that kind of thing, and it's an
Okay.
extension of that into food, so plant-based food. So a lot of people follow a plant-based diet for health reasons.
Shauna, well, for me, just to add in regarding the clothes, but also there's things like cleaning products. There is so much variety there.
Yeah.
But going back to the sort of the plant-based, what I've noticed and what people have sort of said to me is that you're seeing veganism is growing, and some people are saying, "Oh, well, I couldn't do it before," but now that the plant-based foods they're going for it, but we think there's a psychological, you know, a psychological effect where people seem to be evasive to the fact if it's vegan, but in actual fact, all of the foods, the plant-based food, reflects or affects your health. So it's really good for you as well.
So you think people are attracted to it because it's plant-based, they think it's healthy, but in fact it's vegan as well?
Absolutely, and also the thing is plant-based is the way that you're really avoiding eating meat. So you will learn a lot about food when you start, and you will start to see that there is alternatives and a lot of
It's like a
alternatives.
gateway. Yeah. So, plant-based, I see a lot linked with food, and it's vegan anyway, but it's just labeled as plant-based. Okay, I think that's clear to me now. Thank you. Um, so I know in Britain, well, and probably all over the world, there's a kind of growing movement of veganism. Can I ask you about meat? And where are the best vegan places? You mean
Well,
cities? Oh, the
well,
best
I
ones in the
only know,
UK are
yeah.
Bristol. Yeah, Bristol, and where I'm based, here in Brighton.
And why
Yeah,
is
those
that?
are very strong, vegan. There's so many vegan restaurants all along the high street. You've got so many options. They're not limited at all. You can buy food, anywhere you go, there are vegan shops, so it's really easy. You don't have to kind of
Okay.
pick your way
Do
through
you
tins
guys
and
you
things.
do?
It's just
Yeah.
available.
Yeah, Brighton, I know about it. I lived in Bristol for a while. I've not been back there, but I totally give you Brighton. I've seen that myself. Plenty of choice.
And what about in Scotland, Amy?
No, I haven't. It's no. I prefer Edinburgh really in Scotland
Edinburgh?
than
Okay.
Glasgow. Yeah, I think Edinburgh has just the variety.
A
As
variety of food.
Glasgow is a lot of cafes, but they're the same type of cafes as Edinburgh has, like whether it be Italian or various different restaurants that are also vegan.
That's interesting. Shauna, what about in Yorkshire?
Oh, plenty. Leeds as well. Where I live locally, the coffee shop didn't have anything. I now eventually set up a vegan coffee shop and I'm regularly there. But, I think honestly, if you have things that are local, ask your local people, ask them if they've got vegan and,
Pesca power.
or maybe even just say the plant-based stuff and they'll move with the times.
So if you pester enough, they'll change.
Yes, politely. You know the Happy Cow app?
No, tell us
Um,
more.
right, I have an example of it. It's a mobile app. And it will give examples like in your area, what coffee shops are um, producing vegan food, but it also gives you opportunity to put reviews in it, and it's only for vegans. But we're also looking for other places that are not fully vegan but have vegan options to join in as well.
So this app is called Happy Cow, and it's an
Y-
app, and it
Yep.
tells you where you can go, and it shows you the options.
Oh, there you go. Hopefully you can see it on the lights. There it is. So
Okay. Happy
there's,
Cow. Happy
yeah,
Cow.
and
Okay.
it tells me where all the places are that they can supply vegan food.
And Happy Cow actually is all over the world. So wherever you travel to, whichever city, it's a really
Wow.
useful app because, you know, there might just be one vegan restaurant, or you can look for what other options you might have,
Oh,
around where you're staying. So you can get lots of options. Sometimes it's just chips or whatever, but I mean, it's really useful.
that was great. So maybe our audience at home, I'll be, I'll, I'll be
Come to
going to Brighton
Brighton.
all the time for vegan food. But could I go back to Nadia? I'm interested in what you were saying about your background. And I was wondering if you could share that story with our audience.
Sure, sure. Well, my family are from Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka, okay.
Yeah, Sri Lanka. It's not far from India. It's just off the coast of India, and the culture there is actually vegan. Vegan is normal, and I grew up all my life eating vegan food, but we didn't use the word vegan at all. It was just the food that we had. The food that we had no meat in it. Um, Everything, we use roots. It's plant-based. I mean, a lot of the jars you see here in my kitchen, this is all Jamaican food that I use in my cooking without thinking. I just kind of throw it in. Meat was introduced into Sri Lanka actually, through colonialism.
What does that mean?
Well, when the British came over and the Dutch came over and they started taking over our land to grow tea and cultivate tea, they brought with them meat. And so meat started to be cooked in Sri Lanka. But one positive thing was because of our religious beliefs, we refused to eat the meat of cows. But things like lamb, fish, and so on were introduced, and people began to eat those things. But actually, our everyday food, our normal food, was vegan anyway.
So I suppose your whole upbringing and culture was veganism, but you didn't
Exactly.
know what it was. Oh, wow, that's amazing to know
Yeah.
that. So there was no conversion, it was just natural for
Yeah, I was
Sri Lankan
already there.
people.
Yeah.
Wow. Could I ask you maybe if you could maybe show any new products or something you want to share with the deaf community regarding food, some vegan food?
Well, I've got one. Shauna, you go first.
Oh, well, recently I can't believe this happened. It was so much excitement within the deaf community. Look what we have. Baked beans with vegan sausages. The ultimate cowboy dinner. We've finally got it.
Plant-based, it says.
Yes, look, you can see it.
Mm.
But also tomato soup, Heinz tomato soup, a firm favourite. And now it's plant based.
Again, plant-based. Mm.
And I've it always had cow's milk involved in it, and all of a sudden they made one just plant-based, so I am over the moon. I've tried the baked beans and sausages. I just don't really think they're for me. Um, uh, but really, it could be that other people like the taste as well. I don't know, Nadia, Amy, would you like?
Yeah.
Well, I love absolutely cooking, but especially cakes. And every recipe has eggs usually, and I found the perfect replacement. Here it is.
What's that?
It's
Egg replacer. What is that? Can you tell us more, Nadia?
it's a powder. It's egg powder. It's natural. Um, so what the thing is that when it says you want one egg, it actually says on the packaging what the equivalent spoonfuls are for
Okay.
an egg, and it's vegan.
Okay, so let me get this right. You use it instead of the egg. So
Yeah.
where in the recipe you would use an egg, you put that in instead. Okay, that's one example, yeah.
So linked to that egg replacement, there's also lots of different varieties of egg replacement. Some have a bit of liquid. There's different types, and also you
Oh,
can use
chickpea water
chickpeas.
as
Yeah,
well.
chickpea
Yeah.
water. You can use that as well, and you just whisk that, and then that blends together. So there's different ways that you can replace. You can just look in Google; it'll give you loads of alternatives of how you can replace food with animal products in it.
This is vegan mayo that I've just made.
Meal,
So
wow.
simple. Takes about 10 seconds, honestly. You just put the ingredients in, chickpea water, as Shauna was saying, instead of egg, and you whiz that up and you've got mayo. Um, and it's much healthier than anything you could buy off the shelf, which is high in sugar, which is high in fat, and this is just really healthy.
Amazing, Amy.
I just wanted to come in when you were talking about chickpea water there. It's got aquafaba is the name that you'll see. That means chickpea water. It's called aquafaba.
Okay, good to know. Amy, have you got something to show us?
I do. It's not all that healthy though, and I haven't made it myself. Um, it's an accidental vegan product. Um, so accidental vegan is when something is not made to be vegan, but it just happens that it is
Got
vegan.
it.
So I've got Shauna showed you those couple of tins that were very clearly labeled as vegan. Well, this isn't because it just accidentally is vegan. Take a look.
Party ring biscuits. Oh, right. So
Yeah,
that's the name.
they're accidentally vegan.
Oh, so it just so happens it's vegan. Oh, wow.
I know, thank God, because I just love these growing up. And I mean, I can eat a whole packet, honestly. I can surprise myself. I've been eating them
Oh,
since we started today.
yeah, guarantee we finish this Blethers and you'll just munch through a packet. Shauna as well.
Yeah, accidentally vegan is something that's not labeled as vegan, but the ingredients happen to be vegan. There's no animal product in there. But unfortunately, now a lot of companies um, uh, produce them in factories where there's a risk of cross-contamination. So you do have to be careful. If you're vegan because of an allergy, then you should maybe avoid accidentally vegan products. But if you're not allergic, then you're fine.
That's interesting. So we've spoken about food. What about things to sort of like personal care?
Well, makeup, yeah, absolutely. So I have these.
Okay, and they're vegan?
Yeah, you know the Body Shop?
Yeah.
Famous Body Shop. I've always had problems with makeup because I get rashes and allergies. Lots of products don't suit me, but I found the Body Shop does, and the Body Shop has now become 100% vegan, so I can buy anything in the
Wow.
Body Shop. It used to be a mixture of vegan and vegetarian
What?
products, because they used honey sometimes, which is not vegan. So they often use that as an ingredient, but now they've removed all of their non-vegan ingredients and it's now 100% vegan. So I can buy anything off the shelves in the body shop. Look at my skin,
You look
darlings. Look at my skin.
beautiful, beautiful. Also, the Body Shop's really good because it's cruelty-free as well. So no animals have been tested. Sometimes some products, particularly makeup products, they might test them on animals. So the fact that the animals haven't been tested is good. It's not cruel. So it's not just 100% vegan, it's 100% cruelty-free.
Yeah. And some cheap makeup brands from, Superdrug, Superdrug, a kind of budget ranges, but I found this one,
Elf.
ELF Brow Lift, and I use this all the time. It's great for makeup and great for the brows, and I think that's cruelty-free as well.
Lovely, perfect. So could I ask you now, we've spoken about the sort of the food and the makeup, but when you were transitioning to becoming a vegan, where did you source your recipes? Was it books, or do you have anything maybe to show, or maybe you never used a book? Or how did you find
Well,
information?
most of the time I use kind of Instagram, but I do like to have books as well. I do like recipe books. This is one of my favorites.
Okay, More Plants, Less Waste by Max.
That anybody who knows me well knows that because I'm really into the environment, zero waste is really important for me. I was involved in a food fight program on BSL Science, BSL Zone that's gone out recently. That was recorded a year ago, before I became vegan. So there I am talking about meat, unfortunately. But this book has really changed things. It's talking about reusing everything, not using plastic straws. I mean, everything. I mean, look at this, right?
Eh?
So this is beetroot, and you don't waste anything. You don't throw away those stems and those leaves because they can be healthy as well. They're really good for you.
But
Yeah.
what for?
So you can grate them, you can put them in your burger, you can do all kinds of things with them. So it's no waste at all. So this book is a really brilliant guide as far as I'm concerned. If you love to cook, this is a good book for you.
That's a great example. Well, I've got a couple of examples. I bought a book to help me really start looking or to start the vegan journey. The books are called Bosch. You can see them. This is the first one. So it's
And
just
what's the difference
plant-based.
between those two books?
Okay, one is for quick meals. It's called Speedy Bosch. So say
Okay.
if you're after work, you're really shattered, you can't be bothered making a big meal. Well, this will give you something that's really quite quick. Um, it could be simple things like spaghetti bolognese and things like that. Something that's really quick to
Oh,
make, but
okay.
it also gives
Okay.
you recipes for the weekend and things like that. Well, before when I was a student, this was the book that I used.
And is this a cheaper cookbook for students? Is it and perfect
Yeah,
because of the cost of living crisis we're all in at the moment, right?
absolutely. Took the words out of my mouth. It's exactly that. It was thinking about students not having the finances, so looking a lot more about beans and lentils, but also things like kidney beans, all the
Kidney beans,
various different.
lentils,
Yeah.
and
So
replacements. Okay.
yeah, so that's what it was about. So you could use those things. For an example, um, uh, I don't look at food that's processed food. I'm going to look for things that like lentils and mushrooms, because they're just natural foods. It's a really good cookbook.
Lovely. Thank you, Amy. Shauna, you don't use cookbooks.
No, I don't. But recently, my pal gave me this one. The Dirty Vegan book.
Dirty Vegan.
I
Oh my
know,
goodness.
I know. This man is
What's
really well
that?
known in the front. Can you see who that is? The proper banging vegan. It's Matt Pritchard,
Matt Pritchard.
and
Okay.
he's part of the kind of the Dirty Vegan series. And I met him at the vegan camp out.
So what's this? The vegan camp out?
Okay, so it's really a place, it's a festival for vegans where we all congregate, and he was there, and I got him to sign my book.
Oh, great.
So, really, normally before I got this book, I never really used recipes. I just felt the English was too tough. I'm a visual learner. I want to see the things and then I can, understand it. So I would look in websites, you know, again, like Amy was saying, the Bosch, this is the sign for it, the Bosch.
Gosh,
I have
okay.
lots of interesting clips on their website. You'd maybe type things like you wanted macaroni and cheese, and they'll
So
give you
macaroni
a
and cheese, yeah.
load of recipes relating to macaroni and cheese that are vegan, say lasagna or whatever your favourites are. That's really
And
good.
that's quite
And
visual, is it?
and also, yeah, they use um the so vegan, and that's a recipe, and also they get emails that get sent out. There's two people that actually uh, the happy pear.
The happy pear, as in the
Yeah,
fruit.
okay.
Yeah.
Yep, the pear and the fruit. They'd emailed me to let me know that, and there'll be 1 month free access to this app, and the recipes are immense. There's a code that you get for a month, and it's 1 month. You put in capitals, and you type that in.
So
That's your
you
code.
get
That's your
1
promo code.
month is the code. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a promo code. I'll put it in the comments for
Oh,
everybody at
please.
home, and then
Yeah.
you can have a look. It's a 1 month free.
Great.
Okay.
I'd just like to show some of the pictures to our audience of some of the things while Amy is busy eating her party rings, some of the new products, because apparently a vegan Kit Kat has now been launched.
Oh, it's my favourite. Look, I've got one here.
Brilliant.
So, how did I
Does
tell
it
you
taste good?
tell us about it? Oh, it's amazing.
I haven't
But
had one
honestly,
yet.
you should try it. Now, I've often can be a connoisseur of chocolate and things like that. So when it sort of put it on the radiator, not till it melted, right? That won't be nice, but just to soften the chocolate. Honestly, it
Warm? You eat
tastes
it warm?
amazing
Okay.
warm. Honestly.
Okay. But we do have a question that's come in now. So I think we'll pause our discussion. We'll take the question, then we'll come back to our chat. The question is from Megan Palmer. Have you tried Orchid Vegan Chinese in York? Amazing. Oh,
Yes,
I
yes,
have
yes.
Orchid
It's
Vegan in York. So do you want to reply to that,
That's
Shauna?
the name, Avro, of the restaurant. Oh, and it's in York. And it's a Chinese restaurant. The food is sensational. It is unbelievable. The quality is just such of a high standard, because I really did struggle to find any sort of Chinese food that was vegan. So now that that was there were sometimes you had sort of like a couple of vegetarian options, but there was other things that had egg in it. But to have pure vegan, or sometimes you would get the food and it was so bland. It was just like a few things put together. But now this restaurant is just amazing. Honestly, I would recommend it to everyone. If you visit York, go to this restaurant.
Lovely. I hope that's a response to Megan. I think there's a lot of independent vegan restaurants, like here in Brighton. There's so much more interesting food than some of the really, as you say, bland and boring vegan options that are available in the more kind of chain type offerings. But the independents
Yeah.
really offer good food.
Okay, so we've got another question come in, and this is from Erin McCluskey. So I'll read the question out. So, what is your go-to vegan snacks? I love the vegan version of Kinder Bueno. It's made by a company called Love Raw. Yep, we've got it up on our screen. And it's like a
Thank you.
version of Ferrero Rocher. I can't remember if it was Christmas or November, but it started to sort of like be released. I hadn't bought it just yet, but I was actually waiting to see what people's reviews were. And the reviews were excellent. So I thought I'm going to have a go. I'll buy it. I'll show you. This is it. There's the packaging. You can see the ball. It looks exactly like, yeah, the
Like that
Ferrero
triangle
Rocher.
of Ferrero Rocher we're all familiar with. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think, actually, I was in Edinburgh and it was something to do with the university. And anyway, they had a shop, a really small shop, but it was a vegan shop. And it had, like, I can't remember the name.
Is it called
Well,
Black Rabbit?
it could have been. I don't know. I can't remember, Amy. But anyway, this shop was selling some vegan stuff, and I saw it there, and I bought one. When I
So you
tasted
give it a
it,
go.
oh my god, I was back like a shot trying to get a whole box. Honestly, it was terrible. They're
Why
so
not?
good. They're
Why not?
really lovely.
No, but that's true though. If you order a box of, I order chocolate by the box. I like this one. It's quite pricey if you buy one, but if you order in bulk, it's a lot cheaper. So it saves you money, really, if you order in bulk. Why not? I've got 3
Yeah,
left now. I eat so much
look,
of it.
look what I have to impress you.
Oh, I haven't tried the mint. No,
Yeah,
I haven't seen that one.
you seem to see a lot of the word love next to anything with vegan.
Vegans, we're full of love.
But it's the same as like chocolate and crisps and things. Like I love this popcorn.
Oh, those are nice. Yeah, those are nice. And there's a
Well, there's a
barbecue flavor as well. Yeah, the
oh, that's
barbecue one is
really good.
nice.
I've also have this, the Nomo.
Yeah, no, those. Yeah, yeah.
God, we've been talking for ages about food. We really should hold
Gorgeous.
this
Oh, I'm getting really
conversation.
hungry.
What we like. I know it's important, area, but can we talk and sort of like switch gears and have a look at Airbnb? I think there's a new sign for it. Airbnb
Airbnb.
that way. Oh, right, I see it. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah,
That
it is. Yeah.
when you're thinking about holidaying or traveling, that people before are sort of ditching the hotels and going, to stay in other people's houses. But it's amazing that this website, so for vegans who want to stay, that they have vegan friendly properties.
I think it's brilliant. I think it's brilliant because I mean, for my background, if you're Hindu, you don't want to eat meat and you don't want to go and stay in a place where people have been cooking meat. It doesn't feel right. And if that's your religious belief, then it affects your kind of spirituality. So, um, I think there's a lot of communities, Muslims, Hindus, as well as vegans, who would really, want to enjoy that. I think it's a fantastic concept.
Well, I think it's good as well because it's it's you feel more comfortable within yourself. Sometimes people's reaction is they look horrified when I say that I'm vegan. I mean, I don't have a problem with that. I've heard some people that have problems, but I don't. You know, um, when the people who went to like if you go to hotels that are vegan and everything is 100% vegan, it just is wonderful because you don't have to think about your breakfast in the morning or even the environment. There is a place, I can't remember its name, but it was a farm and it was like um looking after the animals in the farm and things like that. Maybe had goats that had rescued and cared for, and they would come and stay. So you could volunteer and
Oh,
help
that
with the
sounds
animals.
lovely.
Yeah.
Amy, what do you think of this? I think it's a great idea because, when you're going out and people bring you tea and coffee, they always bring it with milk. And I kind of like, I don't want the milk. So instead of having to ask all the time, especially because we have communication barriers out in the big wider world, it's an effort, isn't it, to try and make your wishes known. But if you don't eat meat and you can go and stay, as you say, Shauna, I think it's much more comfortable. And you think, you're among your own tribe, people who think like you in an environment that's comfortable to you. So,
Yeah, and potentially you'd probably meet other people and you can sort
yeah,
of have a discussion. Oh, yeah, it makes sense. I suppose you feel free, you know.
yeah, that's why, Shauna. I was going to say, being on the same kind of plane as other people, being the same philosophy. It's like the camp out that we mentioned earlier, the vegan camp out.
The
That
festival.
it's a big festival. It's a big gathering. There's food provided. There are lots of people there. There are speakers, and there's music. There's what else is there? There's lots of things, stalls and things where you can buy products, and everything is vegan. And I feel really safe there because I know everyone's like me. I'm amongst friends. Anything I eat or drink or, everything's going to be vegan. It feels lovely.
You've mentioned a couple of times the camp out, the festival for vegans. Have all of you attended?
I haven't been yet. No, it's always clashed with dates for me.
Shauna, what about you? Well, I went, and it was the first time I'd went. I wasn't really going to sort of festivals. I'd been to sort of small gatherings, if you like, but hadn't been to like a proper festival. So I decided, right, I'm going to go, and wow, I couldn't believe it. I was vegan, but when I was inside this group with this group of people like me, I felt empowered. It felt a really lovely community. And at the end of the camp out, everybody was like, without being asked, helping clearing up and
Oh,
tidying everything around.
lovely.
So, if you've been to other festivals, you see people just ditching tents and everything else.
Yeah, lots
And
of
I just
litter.
felt
Yeah.
I was with a group of people who respected the earth that we walk on.
That's great. We've got another question come in though, and this is from Amy Rose. So she's asking, how do you manage being on holiday if you're vegan? It was always a struggle to go abroad as everything had meat or dairy, and also there's the language barrier as well.
Yeah.
So is that something you've experienced or?
Well, I know that there's one country that is fully vegan, and that's linked to their law. And there was lots of campaigns,
Where's
and
that?
that's in Ethiopia.
Ethiopia.
Ethiopia, yep. And the
Oh,
reason for it is the land is so dry and arid, and they
okay.
wanted to look about the reductions of having animals there, so it became a very
Right.
plant-based
Okay.
focused
Well, that's
food
one
industry.
destination then.
I don't know about Europe and things like that, but I know that Nepal,
Nepal. Yeah.
yeah, and India, Sri Lanka, and countries like that, Thailand, are
So you're
in
talking
that
from
kind of
Asia,
area.
really.
Yeah, there are plenty of vegan choices there, and again, it's because it's a strong link with religion and the environment, the protection and respect of the environment and nature.
So, Amy, you mentioned before about that kind of language barrier and communication. Could you talk about that?
Oh,
I don't know
sorry, my
whether I'm
screen's
freezing.
frozen. Oh, I've got it. Oh, I'm having a wee problem. Oh, hang on. Sorry, tech is just not working at the moment. I'll come back to you.
Let's go over to you, Shauna. Well, I went to Italy last year and I was really nervous about going. And in the planning stage, I was really worried. I tried a Facebook group and said, are there any vegan things? And they were great. Rome, Venice, they had listed all of these specific locations. So if you prepare beforehand, there was a lovely app that I showed you before, Happy Cow, which was really useful when I was in Italy and gave me lots of options of places to go. And if you have problems with the language barrier, then again, there's an app for that. There's translation apps. So it's really worth having a look for whichever particular country you're going and whichever language they use. I always look up some of the words beforehand: vegan, meat, dairy, so that I can show them to the whoever I'm talking
Smart.
to in their own language and say, not this, not this, this. And they get it. They
Really
get it.
clever. So I think you're saying that the language translator is great. Identify the keywords and preparation is key before. I'm back. So yeah, what I was wanting to say about the countries that are vegan, it's dangerous to have to be careful with the language. So check on Google and make sure what their word for veganism is.
Yeah.
It might be completely different. I can't remember where, but there was some sort of coffee shop and it was realized it was vegetarian and not vegan. So just be careful. Recently I was in France for 2 weeks in the summer, and I found it quite difficult at this time. Yeah, because it was Happy Cow app, but I found it in France that it was still very strong
It is
cheese
very
and
cultural.
dairy. Yeah, so they didn't have any vegan cheese because
Yeah, I think that's true.
that was difficult. So I didn't enjoy eating in France because
I
of
think
that
that's
reason.
true. I think that's true, Amy. I lived in France for 5 years, and yeah, the culture is very strongly cheese, dairy, very much. So I can imagine that actually, that being very, very difficult to be
Yeah,
vegan
like
because there's
Paris in
so
the
little.
centre is not bad, but if you want to go down the south at Dordogne, you've got no chance.
What was it like in the supermarket in France? Were there a lot of vegan options in the supermarkets there, or?
There wasn't much, honestly. They had some food that I could eat, but it was like I had to keep checking Google Translate to find out what they were. I mean, the thing is, any allergies like milk and things like that, they came out, so that was fine. They were in bold, I could see that. But other things I had to really check. It's a lot of work. I remember one time I went to Amsterdam
In
in the
Holland? Okay.
Netherlands, yeah, and we went shopping, and I couldn't believe it. Vegan cheese, vegan this, vegan that.
Such a choice, yeah.
And it was a tiny shop in the middle of nowhere, and it had such a display of vegan food. I took so many photographs just to come home
Were
to
you
say everybody
drooling?
I
Were you
want to stay
drooling?
in Scotland.
Okay, what I'd like to ask you all is, when you became vegan, what did you struggle with? What was hard? What was your personal struggle in veganism? Was it that you love cheese and it was hard to give up, or what was the struggle in your own transition?
Mine was tea. And the culture was tea and milk in this country. So I really struggled with that. But we've got a big supermarket shop, and I had sort of small. I didn't want to buy big gallons of other milk, replacement milk. They had small cartons, so I
Like
tried the
oat
small
milk
one.
and almond,
Yeah,
and
oat milk, almond, things like that. So I tried that.
and what's this? Coconut? Oh, coconut milk.
Coconut
Yeah,
milk.
coconut.
Yeah, that's the side for it, coconut milk. But for me, I love the almond, and my body accepts almond milk, and I love it. And very quickly, I could really disengage with cow's milk.
Well, that's interesting. Okay, so what did you two struggle with in your transition to being vegan? What was your struggle?
Well, for me, before I became vegan, I ate meat every single day. Honestly, I just did it without thinking. Honestly, when I looked in the fridge, meat was everywhere. It was just a must. It was a staple. That's what I ate every day.
So that was your
So
struggle.
yeah, so really that was hard. That kind of notion for sort of like chicken and things like that. There were some foods that was easy to replace, like vegan chicken. That was all right. But honestly, see some of the sort of like your traditional red meats, that was difficult to get. But obviously, when I started to watch videos and educational promotions about how animals were being abused, that quickly helped me again decide that I didn't want the meat. What about your
For
struggle, Amy?
me, I think it was, I didn't really have a big struggle, I don't think. I was still young, so I was still learning how to cook. I was just moving out of home for the first time. So I guess it was all perfect timing for me, really. It was all in the mix, at the same time. But I was surprised when I became vegan. I really didn't like mushrooms before I became vegan. I was like, no, I can't eat mushrooms. Ugh, I don't like them. And then I found a way that, to cook them and slice them up and cook them in the oven with some garlic and some salt and some parsley on and a bit of oil, and so that it's absorbed into the mushrooms. And I really like them, or mix them with pasta and so on. And yeah, so mushrooms was my transition, and they're good for you because they contain vitamin D. They're really good for you, mushrooms. So I feel very proud of myself. I'm a good girl. I eat mushrooms now.
Vitamin D, can you show us an example?
I take these A to Z multivitamins because vitamin D, I think, is really important. I've struggled with low vitamin D before, and that can make you really quite ill. So you have to eat a really good variety of food that contains vitamin D. So vitamin D, I think there are 3 different types of vitamin D. So you can get some from sheep wool. It's made of lanolin, crushed lanolin, and that has vitamin D3. Vitamin D2 is plant-based, and that's from mushrooms or some kind of tree, but I can't remember which one. It's from a tree, isn't it? But I can't remember which tree. And that's vitamin D2, so that's already vegan, so that's easy to absorb. So some vitamins are kind of compatible with a vegan diet, but you can. And omega is the other one, and that's traditionally from fish. But omega-3 can come from plants. Nadia's got it there. You've got, what have you there? Flaxseed oil. Yeah. So it doesn't have to come from fish, because the fish actually get it from eating algae. Those plants that are in the sea. I don't know how you spell it, but that, like, the seaweedy kind of plants. Algae. That's it. I think that's it. Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that stuff. Yeah. So the fish eat that algae, and then when they're caught, it's actually the algae that is giving them the vitamin D, and that's passed on to you. So why not take it directly from the plant, right?
And also, as you're saying, that lots of seeds have vitamin D in it as well.
Yeah.
And they have omega as well in it. So it's a fallacy to believe you're only getting it from fish. You get it other places.
Okay, we've got lots of questions that have come in now. So the first one is from Deirdre, and Deirdre Maguire wants to ask, is it hard to find vegan and plant-based foods that are nut-free and gluten-free, as lots of them use nuts as a substitute? Any advice?
Yeah, I would advise you to think about your normal cooking and just add nuts to it. They're just going to enhance the flavour. Just think about using things that are actually grown in the ground, and think about root vegetables as well.
Root vegetables.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no nuts sort of in the root vegetables, so you can always add nuts as a supplement.
And Shauna, yeah, if you don't want to use nuts, I'm in a group that with people who have nut allergies and also gluten, because gluten is included in a lot of foods. So gluten is things like wheat. It's the kind of stuff that you find in bread. A lot of foods have gluten in. So a lot of processed food will have gluten in. Like chicken substitutes and that kind of thing will contain gluten. So I've got a friend who's vegan and gluten free, and they do a lot of research. So when I started, when I was vegan at first, I was testing out lots of food that I like and I didn't like. And I think you just have to do your research if you're vegan and gluten free, and eventually you will find what you like. And I think that's the same if you have a nut resistance as well.
This company called Biona Organic, they're really good. They usually do lots of gluten-free stuff. Look in the supermarkets, look for that name brand. They're good.
So hopefully, Deirdre, that will answer your question. We've got another question in now from Emma. Emma S. Trott asks, how did vegan foods improve your health? I can see that time's running out. So can I ask you for quick answers on this one? Did you find that your health improved when you became vegan? And well, you know what I'm going to ask now. I'm going to apologize before I ask it. But how's your bowel health? Can you tell us about that?
Okay, right. So, okay, when I changed to become vegan, I noticed a big difference in my weight. I felt more toned.
Okay, you lost weight.
And I also had more energy. I was waking up better in the morning, and just the days were easy. Now, regarding the number twos, having a vegan diet, it's very simple. Maybe one or two of them will just fly out, and it's fine.
Quite a quick evacuation, right?
Yes. When I ate meat, I had constipation issues, and I could get that quite often. But as soon as I changed to veganism, no bowel issues. It's in and out. And I, like Shauna, I ate a lot of red meat before. I didn't really like chicken, so white meat. So that's where I had the problem, too rich a red meat diet.
Great, thank you. What about you, Nadia? Well, for me, I mean, I'm 45. So I feel like veganism has really improved my health. I'm also asthmatic. And because I eat a lot of red vegetables now, I feel so much better, honestly. And my
Honestly,
skin,
feel your asthma.
I'm
Asthma's
less
got better.
wheezy. My skin has improved. And as Amy said, I've got so much more energy. I feel really alert. I feel really my brain is awake. I feel very energized.
What about your poos?
Oh, well, I think before I would, when I ate meat, yeah, it would be I'd be quite constipated. My number twos were quite heavy. My poo was quite heavy and it was quite hard to pass. And that's not good. That's not healthy. If your poo is very hard to pass, it's not good. It's now a lighter color and more easy to pass. And that's healthier.
Also, when Amy was saying about she felt more toned and felt like she had lost weight, what's interesting is when I've been looking at lots of the food and it's all new, I've been eating loads of it, so I've been putting on more weight because of the choice available. But as I said before, I've always had low vitamin D, and you can buy you can buy tablets over the counter to help. And I was just so exhausted. I was napping all the time. I just felt weak. There was just no energy, real apathetic. But then when I became vegan, it didn't happen overnight. I would say maybe over a 3-4 month period. And I didn't notice it right away. But all of a sudden, the naps were disappearing and things were changing.
You're not taking naps anymore?
Just not happening.
Okay.
At that time, if you just seen me, because the vitamin D was low, that's why I was napping all the time. But also I felt, have you not asked me about my number two? Oh, right, okay.
I'm about to.
Well, I've got IBS, so you can imagine what I'm like for the toilet. Sometimes, I'm constipated for days before I can go to the loo. But then when I changed to becoming vegan, it's a different experience. When I was a vegetarian, your poo was a bit softer, a bit lighter, but the vegan, honestly, it looks and feels more healthier.
So a lot of very positive answers there. We've just got, I think, time for a last question here from Emma Ferguson Coleman. How do you cook tofu? I hate the question. Well, I'm butting out on that one because I hate tofu too, so I'm not joining in on this one.
You're out. So who have we got?
Well, it's like curry. If you put lots of spices in and your own spice mixes and you chop the tofu up into really nice small cubes, so don't try cooking it as a block. cook it in small cubes, put garlic in, put spices in, cover it up, so with all kinds of things for more flavor.
So you fry it too?
Yeah, you slightly brown it, cover it in oil, put
Yeah.
tomatoes or coconut milk in, and then sort of simmer it in there. So a lot of people don't like the texture of tofu. So if you do lightly fry it, it will be a little bit crispier and it's a nicer texture.
I mean, vegan meal, you always get egg mayonnaise sandwiches. Well, you get vegan meal and tofu can be put in there with some spices, bit of yellow stuff and colouring to make it the effect of it. So there you go. There's one of
I've
the
heard of
ingredients.
that.
It's called black salt.
What is
Uh,
that? Helena Mac. What is that?
where it tastes it's very similar to egg. So when you use that to make mayonnaise,
And so how do you use it with tofu?
well, what you do is you sort of sort of pull it all apart, add some spices and things. I've got a recipe and I'm happy to share that in the comments book, but that's
Oh,
a
please
lovely way of
do.
doing it.
Yeah, please do. That would be great. Young people, I want to turn to now because I think more and more people are becoming vegan these days, aren't they? So, what about kind of school meals and that sort of thing? I mean, back in my day, there was no such thing as a vegan option at school. But do we now have a right, or should we now? Should children now have a right to demand school dinners? And what about people in care homes? Do they have a right to become vegan? What if someone becomes vegan and then moves into a care home? Do they have a right to ask for that diet to be provided to them? I mean, we're much more aware of our rights now, aren't we? And young people certainly much more aware of their rights. Should we be encouraging them to ask for school meals that are vegan?
Well,
Amy?
thank you, Avril. I Lots of things on Twitter. There's lots of complaints for young people about schools who are the young people are vegan, and also they've maybe experienced some bullying as a result of it. But it's not happening in all schools. I think some
Just
schools
here and
offer
there.
options, and it depends maybe in what local authority you are or whatever. I don't know. I mean, I left school 5 years, 6 years ago now. Oh my goodness, 6, 7. I'm that old. I've forgotten. But
And
I
so
left
5
school
years
then.
ago, that wasn't available.
Yeah, so there was nothing there. But
Okay.
things are changing. Usually it was always dairy based and there would be meat options there as well. And it really wasn't, you know, there for vegetarians, never mind vegans.
Well, hopefully it will be.
I can remember in my old school, they had like stalls where they would have like the foods for the vegans, the vegetarian, things without nuts and all that. And it was
Oh, on different
fabulous.
counters. Okay,
Yeah.
that's cool. That's nice. So maybe that's the future. Maybe that's what's coming. Oh,
Could,
sorry, Shauna.
could I add, if there's any young people that are vegan and they're having issues at school, there's a website that you can actually go onto and they will give you some advice. I'll give you the website address. We'll
So
maybe put it in
hopefully
the
we can
comments.
get vegan social up on the captions here.
And this website actually has a lovely forum and it helps people who are not feeling confident to
Oh,
ask.
that's interesting.
So you can just fill this in. And that helps you rather than feeling that you have to go and challenge someone. So
Here
there
we
it
have
is at
it.
the
Vegan
bottom.
Society.
There you go. So that's a really, really good website for young people, particularly at school, and that can guide you and support you in ways to hopefully that you can have more vegan options in school.
And pester power, like you mentioned before. Great, thank you.
Absolutely.
And I think that is the future. I think veganism is going to be
I
the
agree.
future because it's growing so much. It's becoming the majority now. So I think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I agree. It's the future. I mean, Veganuary is growing every single year.
Yeah.
I mean, I was only a vegan 2 years ago, And I can see in our 2 years the difference, the replacements, the substitutes, the choice that we have. You
Vegans
know,
are taking over. Yeah. Okay. Well, quickly, I just want to pick up on something from who's this from? Oh, yes. I wanted to ask. You told me about Shauna, a place in Wales, and I wondered if you could share that with our audience. Was it the Queen's Inn?
yes, you're right. It's the Queen's Inn in Wales. And last year I was just there, this month, January last year, visiting. So they had decided they're not a vegan pub or restaurant, but they decided for Veganuary they would try it. They did lots of publicity. The place was mobbed. It was so popular. And I can't remember if it was the owner or the staff then became vegan
Oh,
and
wow.
decided
Interesting.
that there you go, that's information. So after that, the pub decided that when Veganuary finished, that they would continue, and now they are still, after 1 year, still offering some beautiful
Wow.
vegan meals, and I would recommend you all to visit.
Well, that's where we should all go this year, right? Great.
Definitely.
And I think that the problem that many pubs have, deaf people like to kind of gather in pubs, but then often the pubs aren't vegan. And that can be a real problem for those of us who are vegan in the deaf community.
Now, we've shown some products tonight, Love Raw for an example. But before, because time is just about up, but before we finish up, you'd mentioned that takeaway foods are actually better now, or am I wrong? Is it still problematic? What do you think?
There's a lot of people who support veganism, but the takeaways, I think, it's limited. So there's one called Donna Summer, as in Donna Kebabs, but it's called Donna Summer. And junk food, I suppose. When you want a takeaway, you want junk food. I like a bit of junk food. I love it. So Donna Summer is good. And locally, you'll there'll be Domino's Pizza is quite good.
Yeah,
There
that's right.
are various ones who are now offering different. It's growing. The takeaway market is growing, I think I'd say.
Oh, thank you for that. Do you know, I think I've covered everything. We'd mentioned cheese, didn't we? That cheese was difficult in France, remember?
No, I don't think it is. I think I've done really well on the cheese. It's been all right.
Ooh, that is
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Yeah. It's great. It's the best one. Oh, I haven't tried that. Oh, it is good. It's good.
Well, normally, when I was sort of vegan,
Oh, Vio Life, is that what? Vio Life, is that the brand?
right,
Yeah.
BioLife, yep. And they have cheese, vegan cheese. It's all right, and it has a bit of a cheesy flavour to it. But I didn't really. It had sort of dairy in it. So anyway, after that, recently, just about Christmas time, everybody was going on about this cheese.
So this
It's
is a
just
new cheese.
yeah, just recent. So I bought it, grated it. I grated a block. They had some grated already in the bag, but I thought, no, I want to see what the texture and things like that are like. So I'd rather get a block. So I
Yeah,
got the
you can
block,
grate it yourself.
grated it, put it in a sandwich, and I couldn't believe it. I had a flashback. The texture, the taste, everything tastes the same.
Oh,
Right,
that's the
okay, well,
one for
that's
me
on
to
my
try, I
list.
think. Yeah.
Definitely. Amy,
Amy?
you'll be getting that as well, the cheese?
Yeah. I haven't had it
Amy, I
yet.
think you've had that. Have you not tried that cheese before?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, it's lovely. It's lovely. One thing that I wanted to add was, Baby Bell. The little cheese. It comes in little wax.
Oh, yeah, the wee red
Yeah.
thing that you open
You know
up.
the
Yeah,
ones? Yeah, Baby Bells.
yeah.
Last year, they launched a vegan one, plant-based. I didn't bring one today, because you've got to go to specific stores to get them. But whenever I see them,
Right.
I buy them. Yeah, those are good.
Well, I suppose the last thing for me to ask you is that veganism is protecting our animals as well because we're not killing and eating them. So we've actually went over time. So is it something you want to say just about animals?
I think Shauna might want to have the last word. I think it's a long journey to veganism, and I think it's quite emotional because, of course, animals have no voice. They can't speak for themselves, and we abuse them. If you go to a slaughterhouse, you see they're slaughtering cows, pigs, chickens, all those kinds of animals, and you see the process that they have to go through. It's awful. Educate yourselves by looking at videos, talking to people who've worked on farms, who've worked in slaughterhouses, and they become vegan because of what they've seen and the exposure of looking at what those animals have to go through. And as consumers, we often don't know what goes on behind the scenes. We think animal food is natural food, but the way we treat those animals is not natural. So I think, we give them lots of injections, antibiotics, hormones, all kinds of
That's right. We
things.
feed them
Um,
everything.
Things that are not normal, and the environments that we keep them in are not normal. They're dark, they have insufficient water, these animals are often ill, and then we eat them and we're taking that into our bodies. So I think there's a lot to be learned about animal welfare. It's a big issue.
Linked to directly what Shauna was saying and regarding slaughterhouses and things like that. There's an interesting book that I've read, and this is here. This is Vegan Propaganda. It's called by Ed
Vegan
Winters.
propaganda, right? And tell us about
Yeah.
that.
Well, this man, um, uh, Ed, he's an earthling. Right? And that's how it comes about. I, it's hard to kind of describe, but basically what he's saying is he's wrote about the fact that he was a meat eater before, and then when he travelled around different, abattoirs, slaughterhouses, all around the world, he gathered lots of information and put it all in this book.
That's
And
in there.
honestly,
Okay.
when you read that, it is very, very emotive.
Okay, all
I
right.
would highly recommend it.
Great. And Nadia, anything to add from you? Yeah, we started talking about methane
Methane.
earlier, and you know that, as I mentioned before, cows have four stomachs and they produce quite a lot of methane. I mean, we're on your favorite subject now, Avril, toilet habits.
When
So
burping,
they fart a lot of methane. And honestly, the level, the percentage of methane in the world, we think about methane coming from landfill and decomposing in our rubbish heaps, but actually the methane that's farted out of cows is huge compared to that. And that's just because people are demanding meat to eat, and the planet cannot sustain, the atmosphere cannot be sustained if we produce that.
so you can see the causal link between eating meat and affecting the
Exactly.
environment.
If you think of wars like the war in Ukraine, and you think of a bomb, and how that might affect an animal, that any stress on an animal is going to affect its meat. When you eat that meat from that stressed animal, that is passed down the chain. So it's not good.
Yeah, absolutely. And really, just to say again about eating meat, if you start to reduce your meat intake and dairy, really don't think it's just about meat. Dairy, and dairy is ice
Everything from
cream
the
and
cow.
everything that has dairy. So dairy comes from a cow, so you have to make sure that you're doing both.
And so it's a kind of spiritual thing for you, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, we have to be mindful of what we're eating now as human beings. We should be asking the questions: where does this food come from? How is it sourced? Is the is any part of that process? Is there any cruelty in it?
Yeah, what's
It's
behind
a
the scenes?
natural, organic way that this product has been developed. But we know there's lots of abuse that takes place for the animals, and there's absolute tension that you can see in the animals and in their whole structure, and that is there and that's kept within them, and that affects their mate. So you really we have to be asking where it's from and understanding the emotional trauma that the animal goes through until it's killed, and then it appears in our plate that actually that trauma has went through that animal's body and it's in its meat, and we're now digesting it into our body, so it will
Yeah.
affect your health. So
Yeah.
we
And
should
mental
be
health.
thinking
Yeah.
about putting clean, natural, organic food in our
It's about
bodies.
well-being.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. It's all part of the circle of life. It's a whole
It's
part
all the
of the
chain.
whole thing. And I'm grateful that we've got, animals walking our planets. We don't need them as a food resource.
Great. Well, folks, we've gone way over time. So I'm going to go just one thing from each of you. We're in 2023 now. So just one thing, please. What would you like to see changing? I know you want to change the world, all of you, and you want everyone to become vegan. So maybe that's your ambition for 2023. So if you could just give one thing for 2023 you'd like to see change. Nadia.
I would love to see the fish in the ocean repopulate. We've been plundering it for years. I would love to see our fish grow again and all the animals. I just want to see nature at its best. I just want to see it. When I'm driving, I just want to see the beauty around us.
So more vegans is more biodiversity, more animals, more fish. These things are linked. So that's what you'd like to see. And also you want to see people having kitchens like yours, maybe.
Yes,
Lovely. Okay,
absolutely.
great. Amy, what would you like to see for 2023?
I think for me, I would like to see more deaf people start to think about the impact in the environment and the world that we live in. And I'm not suggesting everybody has to convert, but what I would be asking people to do is just be more mindful, more aware, and ask the questions what you're eating, and just realize what eating meat and other things, how they can affect the planet and our environment. But also, I would say
Be
you go at
mindful.
your own pace. You go at your own pace. I'm 21, and I felt that I was going at my own pace. You shouldn't be forced. You do it at your own time, your own pace.
Lovely. Shauna. Oh, thank you. Well, 2 years ago, I kind of filmed myself every day for Veganuary, 31 days of
I
a kind of
remember
video
that.
diary. And then after that, um, there were kind of, I don't know, I think in the hearing mainstream, there are lots of documentaries, there's lots of information, there's lots of reality. So I'd like to see that this year in the deaf community. A documentary, or if there are any researchers and filmmakers and developers, I'm totally up for this. So please bring it on.
So yeah, you would love to see a documentary in sign
In sign
focused on
language, exactly.
veganism.
Yeah.
So just a wee shout out to any producers or directors out there. There's someone is willing to be
Yes, we're
participant
all
and
here. We're all
educate
here.
us all. So that if you do that, you'll be sport the animals, you'll be sporting the environment, and you'll be sporting each
Exactly.
other, and it would be lovely. I just want to say thank you so much for tonight. It's went over. I hope our audience at home enjoyed it. I appreciate everything that you've contributed tonight. I hope you've enjoyed it.
Yes, and also it's never too late, folks. It doesn't have to be the 1st of January. It doesn't matter if you miss the 1st of January. Start it now. Start it
Yeah.
tomorrow. Do it soon. Join us.
Oh,
And
I've
one
got one
question for you.
question for the audience. Just imagine a future where you're not allowed to eat meat. It's going to happen. Get used to it now. Start building up, and
Get
then
into the
you can
habit.
have this healthy,
No regrets.
meat-free
I've got
diet.
no regrets. You will not regret it. Seriously, seriously.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you to our viewers at home. Bye.
Bye.